thanks for tuning in to the edition of Formscan on irishracing.com. Getting close to Cheltenham now, a lot of the focus is going towards there, but some great cards over this weekend. We're going to look at Navan, Leopardstown, and a little bit of Kelso as well. And I'm delighted to be joined by Declan and Andy Cummins from the Take It Full podcast. Guys, just I suppose for our viewers who might know you so well, you're doing really well on your own podcast now at the moment. So just a bit of introduction to yourselves and a bit of background maybe.
Yeah, look, we're both from Dublin, and we met each other through another podcast, the USO podcast. I'll give them a plug as well. And as it went on, we kind of found that people were becoming more and more interested in our thoughts on low-grade handicaps in Ireland. We were giving out a couple of tips at the weekend. So we banged our heads together, and look, we live and breathe Irish racing. We're on the track an awful lot. So we thought it'd be a good idea to cover these midweek races and the low-grade handicaps. And, you know, everything is so much Cheltenham focused these days. I feel it's been a breath of fresh air, and the feedback's been absolutely great. And even the race courses have really latched onto it. And, you know, like Punchestown, Fairyhouse they share our stuff now and again. And I suppose you've contacted us as well, Emma. So as you said, it must be going well. And we just wanted to draw attention to Irish racing and those industry days as well. Irish racing get a bit of stick at times. Big field maidens, big field handicaps, you know, particularly the maidens can be, you know, you might need 3 teddies to watch them sometime. But we've tried to educate people on, you know, the competitiveness of Irish racing and, you know, what to look for in these races. And like, we have now, one of our most loyal followers is from the States. He never knew Irish racing existed, never knew Irish jump racing existed. And a lot of people from Britain have, you know, they're looking forward to these meetings. We actually got a message the other day because we were covering the handicaps at Cheltenham, and the message asked, would we be giving out tips for Clonmel at the end of it? So that was a guy in Britain. So we must be doing, you know, we must be doing something to, you know, making people more aware of those industry meetings in Ireland.
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose it's nice to bring the spotlight to the smaller days as well, especially for maybe connections might be listening in and, you know, here, like, let's say if my horse is running there in a small handicap in Thurles, like, your name getting mentioned on the podcast isn't something you hear about so much. So it's definitely got a massive appeal, and it's great to get you on this weekend in particular. I suppose it's one of those, I suppose weekend racing, but maybe the highlight is going to Cheltenham as well. None of the really big star horses that we might normally see the Saturday and Sunday in Ireland. So great to get you on, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts throughout the weekend. I suppose we'll just go straight into racing, and I think we want to start at Navan on Sunday. First race we have a look at there is the 4-year-old maiden hurdle. Few interesting ones in here. I suppose Charming Star to start off for the Tom McCourt team. Ran a nice race last time on hurdling debut behind Indarwi, who looks like a leading Boodle's hope for Gordon Elliott. Another interesting one who caught my eye as well, though, was Shabazz for Gavin Cromwell, who was successful last week with a similar kind of newcomer off the flat. Either one of you want to give the thoughts on this race? What are you kind of looking for here?
Here you go, Andy.
Deck, you'll probably speak about the Cromwell horses. You're quite giddy about him, actually, when we were talking about this card yesterday. Emma, you did mention Charming Star there, Tom McCourt, 4-year-old, Danny Gilligan taking £5 off. This was quite an interesting newcomer to the hurdling ranks last time out. He obviously cost 180 grand as a yearling. Never saw the track for William Haggis, however, and he did end up with Tom McCourt, who did very well with him last season on the flat. He managed to get a win under his belt. I think he's rated 83. He went to the horses and training sale. Tom was obviously very keen to buy him back, which he did manage to do for 40,000. And I'd say he surprised him a little bit maybe on hurdling debut. Like, he was in midfield. He would have learned an awful lot. He came home really, really well. He would set the standard here. I don't think this is going to be the strongest of maiden hurdles. It probably wouldn't even be as strong as the race that he ran in last time out, even though that probably wasn't a particularly strong race. Nadawi was impressive. If you wanted to look at him for the Boodles, we were talking this week, Declan, 134 does look probably a bit on the harsh side on what he maybe has done form-wise. But Charming Stars, he's done nothing really wrong in any of his starts to date, really. I would imagine he would have the winning of this race, and I wouldn't even be surprised to see him go back on the flat this coming season and maybe have a look at something like the Amateurs Derby or even the Amateurs race at the Galway Festival. He'd have a profile for that. given his rating, and I'd say definitely be a horse to follow going forward, either jumps or flat.
Yeah, good mention for him there. And Declan, were you looking at the Gavin Cromwell newcomer here?
Yeah, well, look, he's 1 from 11 on the flat. He's by Free Eagle. I like to see these horses that rated mid to high 80s go jumping. People get excited about 100+ horses go jumping, but like, as you know well, Emmett, they really have to love jumping. And I just find a lot of the mid 80 horses love it more than the 100+ horses. As Andy points out most weeks, Gavin Cromwell's really good at getting them jumping, particularly over fences. But, you know, he has a record of getting horses jumping anyway. So that's what I like about him. If he can jump, and it does all come down to that, you know, he will need to jump. But if he does, I think he'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, a question about that. I suppose Tom Horsefella showed a good attitude that I thought last time. I thought he might be in a little bit of trouble coming down the back straight and Punchestown even, but I suppose coming off the flat, you might be questioning their attitude at times. But yeah, I'd say Charming Star is probably the one to beat, but definitely to keep an eye on Gavin Cromwell's one there as well. We'll have a look at the 240. Then I thought this was a really interesting race as well. I suppose Adon May, the starting point here for Charles Burns, has been a rapid improver in last 2 starts. I think she's gone up around £17 for her last 2 wins. I did think she won a little bit cozily in Punchestown last time, but they got £9 for that. So wouldn't be a shock to see her keep improving from the Burns yard, but probably has a bit to do with those rapid rise to the weights. For me, I thought Chosen Diamond was a bit of an eye catcher last time as well. Had won a handicap chase up 92 last year, I think. Back to hurdles then last time, and was an eye-catching fall, I think, at the last. Had every chance as well coming there, I think. But you guys, there's a few in here I think have good chances. Who would you be siding with?
Yeah,
this is your great deck.
Yeah, it's more my thing, but I didn't have a massive opinion on it. Obviously, Adon May, she's gone up to £78, but she's coming back in trip, which has turned me off a little bit. You mentioned Chosen Diamond. Was going really, really well in the race, won by, I think when he fell, just left Butty O'Brien in front to win easily enough. Look, the one I'll be keeping an eye on, and it's not a selection for tomorrow, unfortunately, but it is for the next day. It's El Capitan. First time in a handicap, was 6 to 1 out of the way you're thinking, and 5th to the Deep Cave, and 3rd to Buddy 1 and Harvard Guy. I think that's really good form, but that was a year ago. So I think he's going to take this run. He'll need it for handicap experience, and he'll probably take a blow as well, but I'd be very, very keen on El Capitan the next day.
Yeah, I actually made note of him as well, and but like you said, probably will need the run. First start for Tom Draper as well, but yeah, that form behind Buddy 1 and Harvard Guy, it's kind of hard to dispute that. Probably looks like one for the future. Now, whether he'll be ready enough for tomorrow is probably another question, but yeah, good shout there. Definitely one for the notebook. I suppose we'll move on to one of the races, probably with more well-known horses, I suppose, and I think, Andy, you had strong opinions on this one. Obviously, we're seeing Splan's Tower and Blood Destiny facing off again. Splan's Tower got the better from last time. They are dropping back in trip, and Blood Destiny looks better off the weights this time. But what's your view here?
Yeah, Deck is probably sick of listening to me talk about Splan's Tower. He's a horse I absolutely wax lyrical about. I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, he has the £7 penalty to contend with. Now, the thing about Blood Destiny here is his weight for age that he would have been getting in previous races. That's now eradicated. He carries the 11 stone 1, same as Farmer's Lodge, same as Flanking Maneuver. So I think it's actually an only extra £3 he has to give away this time. He gave away £4 Splan's Tower to Blood Destiny. It's now 7. So there's a £3 difference. Look, I don't think Farmer's Lodge and Flanking Maneuver are going to be up to troubling Blood Destiny and Splan's Tower here. Flanking Maneuver, definitely, he pecked on landing a couple of times over 3 miles, and I'd say they're coming back to 2 miles just to get him jumping a little bit faster, get him into a rhythm, and maybe look for some future spring targets. Farmer's Lodge, very well placed by Barry Connell on chase and debut, given that he wasn't a hurdles winner. They were able to get him into kind of a lesser beginner's chase, which he made no mistake in. And then obviously Blood Destiny, very impressive on his chase debut. Couldn't have been more impressive, beating Hartwood, who obviously followed up at the Dublin Racing Festival quite recently. He was probably a non-stayer over the 2.5 miles at Punchestown. But when you go back and watch that race, like Splan's Tower jumped so well. You could maybe argue was a little bit out of his depth, going down the back straight. But when you watch the head on, Mark Walsh never touched him, never showed him the whip, and he just picked up and went away from Blood Destiny. if Spillane Tower stays close to Blood Destiny, like I know he's about 8 lengths off in the last day going down the back straight. If he can just follow him stride for stride, I could see him definitely giving the weight away. Like I think very good horses can win over insufficient trips. I do think this is an insufficient trip for Spillane Tower, but I think this is a horse that could end up in something like the Saddles Chase or Irish Gold Cup next year. When he sees 3 miles, I think he's a proper horse. And if I think he's that good, despite him coming back to 2 miles and giving more weight away to Blood Destiny, I think he'd be able to do it. I think Jimmy Mangan's got a right one here. And yeah, I'm very, very excited to see him.
They seem to be taking the patient approach as well. I was kind of surprised enough to see him at least entered for a Cheltenham race. Do you think that might be the making of him next year, maybe, though, you think? Probably
I would have
maybe needs a bit more time.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I would imagine win, lose or draw, he goes to Fairyhouse for the grade 1 there. And I would even love to see him maybe stepped up to 3 miles at Punchestown. Like when this horse sees a trip, I think you're going to see, 15-20 pounds improvement. And he's only a 6-year-old. As you said, Emma, they've taken the patient approach with him. I wouldn't say there's many novices in the country better than him personally. Just given on what he's shown and how quickly he's improving, I think he's a right one now. And I hope he runs well on Saturday. Even if he's beat by Blood Destiny over this trip, I wouldn't be too disappointed. But when he goes back up to 2.5, 3 miles, I think you're going to see a right horse.
Big vote of confidence there for Spillane Tower, though. To be great to see Jimmy Mangan back with a real top class horse again. I think his string is getting smaller, but good to see quality in there as well. Declan, what's your opinion on Blood Destiny? I think he's I was really taken by his chasing debut, I suppose, in Nace. Like, you wouldn't really see a horse jump much better than that, but he's just, I don't know, he's just a bit soft maybe when he gets taken on for a lead. He kind of throws in the towel a bit easily, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he finds anything off the bridle. He is a very, very strong traveller. I was mad about him as a juvenile hurdler, but when there was a strong pace on in Cheltenham, he folded pretty quickly. And I think if Spillane Tower can lay up with him, I know that they're coming back in trip, but if he can lay up and you get him off the bridle, I think he has the beatings of him. Yeah, and that's it. Like, if Blood Destiny can dictate over 2 miles, he's just going to gallop to the line. But after that, if you can, look, it's not going to be an easy task for Spillane Tower. And as Andy said, it's no shame if he loses here. But if he can lay up and get him off the bridle, I think he'll beat him.
Good vote of confidence there. And on the tissues there, looks like you get 2-1 on Spillane Tower. It'd be nice to see him opening up with that price, because even dropping back in trip, there's plenty of confidence about Spillane Tower there from the two guys. But we'll have a look then at the feature race today, the Webster Cup. I was actually quite keen on Journey With Me here. Now, I know he will be off a long layoff, but I just think his novice chasing form is really strong. He took a fall towards the end of the season behind Fernilly. Maybe that will have a bit of an effect. Now, I'm not sure why we haven't seen him yet. There must have been some lingering issues there, but he just had some really strong novice chase form. He was beaten by Impervious. She was giving him a small bit of weight that day, right? But against this type of rivals, there's questions marks about a lot of them, I think, on their most recent runs. It might be a nice enough opportunity, and the Henry de Wormhead team seems to be coming into good form as well ahead of the spring festivals. Andy, what's your take on this race?
Yeah, as you said, Emma, you can probably knock holes in a lot of them. Journey With Me, obviously, he may have had, he's obviously had some issues. Hasn't been seen now in 312 days when he lines up here. My worry about him was he was very fresh on his chasing debut at Gowran, and it resulted in him falling behind Classic Getaway. Now he did improve into a much better chaser, like when he beat Limerick Lace in March of last year. Like, that's probably some of the strongest form on offer given what she's gone on and done this season. He did then fall at Punchestown again. My worry would be he's a little bit fresh. He has fallen in 2 of his 5 chase starts. And if he's trading at, I would imagine, a shade of odds on here, I wouldn't be confident enough to part with my money or put him in any accumulators or anything like that. Now, on the flip side, you have to find something to beat him. Andy Dufresne, you couldn't trust him as far as you could throw him at this stage. Fighting Fit, like, he's probably an out-and-out 2-miler, it's fair to say. And he'd need to find improvement for this step-up and trip. And then Lucid Dreams, who probably goes racing more than Dec and I. It's great to see him back, but again, I'm not sure he has much to find over the... I don't know if he's much improvement in what he's shown already this far. He's 144 rated chaser. In fairness to him, he probably will run to that mark, but there should be something in here that will, improve past a mark like that. So my by process of elimination, I actually came down on the top one, Ash Tree Meadow. I know he only ran last week behind Fernie Hollow. He made a couple of edgy mistakes. It was after a break. They turned him out very quickly. He's at a more suitable trip. But he just blew up, I think, when they came into the straight that day. And I would kind of take that on board. I would forgive him that. Before that, his profile was extremely progressive. Obviously, Galway Plate winner, then won a match at Down Royal. Look, I think he's probably the most trustworthy, even though he was a shade disappointing only last week. But as I said, that was off a break. I'd be happy to trust Gordon Elliott that he has him right, and he'd be my selection here.
Declan, any play in this one?
Yeah, well, Lucid Dreams actually said hello to me the last time I was at the race.
He's getting to know you.
Recognise me. Look, Jordy with me, he didn't look. There's no shame in being beaten by Impervious, even if she did give him weight, because I think she'd have won a King George and a Gold Cup this season. I really do think a lot of her. But I just don't think his jumping is up to it. He fell in his beginners, as Andy said, and then he did improve through the season, but he fell again when he went into Grade 1 company at the Punchestown Festival. The Ash Tree Meadow ran over 2 miles last week, so for a horse who stays well, it's not going to be too taxing on him. I think back to what's about his trip now, I think he just goes and wins this. He is wrong at the weights, but I just can't trust Jordy with me. I can't trust his jumping, and I think Ash Tree Meadows will just go in.
Great stuff. So the two lads taking on likely favourite Journey with Me with Ash Tree Meadow. We'll move on to the last race of the day at Navan. And Declan, this is one you had strong opinions on. Jumping Jet, I think, going into handicap chase company for the first time for Gordon Elliott. I thought Kate Hill was an eye-catching second place last time, though, at Punchestown. Dropping back in trip might be a little bit of a worry, but the stiffer track at Navan might help her as well. Take us away with this one.
Yeah, well, I actually think it's possibly the most interesting race of the weekend. Who'd have thought that? A mare's handicap chase, 123 carrying 12 stone, I think it is. As you said, Jumping Jet's going into handicap company. She was a maiden hurdle winner last March, and she achieved a rating of 116. She finished fourth the last twice, so she was well held though. Her best beginner's run she was a length off Ask Anything. I think that's decent form. She ran a listed race the last day at Tourist behind Marsh Wren. She's making her handicap debut, 109. She's rated the same as Kate Hill. As you said, she's coming back in trip. She just failed the last day. She was outpaced on the bend, and she rallied to just be held. The long straight's going to suit her here, but there's 3 fences to jump on Navan. I think she is down in grade. That was top weight was 130 odd the last day, but I think she might just need further. She is a 9-year-old as well. She's some doll. She was a half length second off the same mark in this last year. She was pulled up the last day, and that's probably put me off her a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her run a big one. Intersky Sunset, she was a hurdle winner off 84 in November. She's in here off 92. Yeah. She was fourth on her next start after that in the chase. That was off this mark. The 3 horses ahead of her have all won since. She was third over hurdles the last twice. That was off 95 and 98. She was behind Cardi's Big Jim both times. She's won 2 point-to-points. I'm really struggling to split Intersky Sunset and Jumping Jet. I think this is an absolute cracker, to be honest. And this is the kind of races we were talking about on top. These races exist that they don't get the coverage they deserve. I'd probably side with Jumping Jet because Intersky Sunset could run in the north of 95, and she'd probably pick that up. She might just find this a little bit too difficult up in grade.
Yeah, Declan Queally does really well with those kind of lower rated mares as well, though. And seeing Shane Fitzgerald do 10 stone 9, I think our jockey's been struggling with his weight slightly, so I'd say that wouldn't have been too easy with him either, which might be a pointer towards her chances here. But Andy, do you have anything to add to that?
No, look, Deck's the expert usually when it comes to the lower grade stuff. But no, to be honest, now we've covered these mares extensively. I think Kate Hill, who obviously has done well winning a beginners, and coming back in trip might falter her. And look, I saw where Deck is coming from with Jumping Jet. If I don't have an opinion, I'd be more than happy to trust Deck.
Very good. We'll stick with Deck there. So for this mare's handicap chase, we'll have a quick touch on Kelso. Obviously the more battle hurdle, the feature race. There are some interesting Irish challengers as well, though, in the Grade 2 novice hurdle. John McConnell sends two over who look like relative outsiders, Gypsy Moon and Intense Approach. Brucio, an interesting one as well. The mare down the bottom and waits there for Stuart Crawford. Maybe a little bit fortunate winning a Leopardstown handicap last time. The winner kind of fell apart in front. I thought that day Minx Tiara, who can be kind of a weak finisher, but looks like an improving mare. And Stuart Crawford did mention afterwards that she has a touch of class about her. Big step up in grade here, but probably has each way claims at least. Django Bay probably looking like likely favourite for Nicky Henderson. Obviously, Formby novice hurdle winner. Second last time to one of the leading British hopes in the Barring Bingham handstands. Not sure how strong that British form is, but did Andy, any view on this race at all?
Yeah, well, I said to Deck shortly after that Paddy Mullins mare's handicap hurdle, it's a race that I really have a lot of time for. It shows you pointers to the spring time and time again. The best example being the 2021 renewal, which was won by Heaven Help Us. She went on to win a Coral Cup. Third that day was Tell Me Something Girl. She went on to win the Dawn Run that year as well at Cheltenham. So it can throw up, very, very good results. Perchio, as you said, could have been slightly fortunate. I would take that on board. I did think Danny Mullins did give Minx Tiara a peach that day, and he was probably a little bit unlucky to get run down. But again, as you alluded to, Emma, this might be a mare that just that Crawford said had a touch of class, and the penny might just be dropping with her now. I would have really fancied her in the Moore battle because she was entered in that as well. But I wouldn't put anyone off her around 7-1, getting the £7. My slight worry would possibly be coming back to not to come back to 2 mile 2, but I think she would have been 2 mile 4 in time would have been a little bit optimal. Now I did actually study the Moore battle first, and there was a horse that did catch my eye. With a strain of form. There was a Donald McCain horse that I was looking at, but I'll get some more of that later. The horse was Geromino. He won at Doncaster last time out. But the horse that was second really caught my eye, and I was like, oh, he might be one for a spring handicap down the line. Could even come back and trip for the Welsh champion hurdle. That horse was actually Rich Spirit, and he has rocked up here. 20-1 shot now. The problem is he hung like a old dodgy garden gate that day up the straight at Doncaster. Like he was really he did look very, very awkward. Now he got £6 for that, and they're putting him straight into a grade 2. He travelled so sweetly and so strongly, and then when he got into the straight, started jumping quite violently left, ended up on the chase course with the winner. But they're running him here in a grade 2, which I don't think has that much strength and depth. Obviously Django Boy has that £7, or not the £7, he has the 11 stone 10 as a result of winning the grade 1, fortunately probably at Aintree, the Tolworth. But at around, I think he's around 6-4, 15-8, the weight is probably going to undo him. He's rated 139, which puts him equal with the Crawford mare Perchio. But the way I was looking at this, I do think Rich Spirit could have a lot of improvement in him, and if they're stepping him back into a grade 2 after his win and his very, very good second, if they can just stop him hanging, and I think Kelso would suit him a little bit more than somewhere with a long straight like Doncaster, I'd take a little chance on him at around 20-1. I think he could hit the frame if he kind of behaves himself and has a pace to aim at.
Lovely each way shout there. So from Andy, Declan, anything in here?
No, without having a massive opinion, I do like Brucio, the Crawford mare. Look, she won that race at Leopardstown, the Paddy Mullins, and we do like to follow that. You can find a lot of winners in that race usually. I'm not sure it was the strongest renewal this year, but it's a tried and tested method for us to follow horses in that race. She was third down Royal behind Down Memory Lane and Fast Felix. Down Memory Lane, I think he's only had one run since, and that was you think it was a well-held tour to Caldwell Potter at Christmas. Fast Felix is a horse I really, really like, one of Owen McCarthy's. He ran in a bumper after that, but on came on the podcast just because he's not a bumper horse, so just put a line through that run. I really like her. I think she'll give this a good go here.
One to keep an eye on there. So some nice each way shouts from the two lads. But we'll go on to the feature race there at Kelso. Quick look at the Moore Battle Hurdle. One that kind of left me scratching my head a small bit, to be honest with you. Suppose we've got last year's winner to start us off there. Benson beat Colonel Mustard, probably one of my favourite horses in training last year in this. He comes here off a £5 higher mark. Look, it's a real competitive looking contest. I was actually kind of surprised there wasn't a few more Irish challengers in there. It's only the Dennis Hogan trained little mix up at around 20 to 1 shot, ridden by Mark McDonough, who's a really good claimer as well in my eyes. I suppose Nicky Henderson's Under Control is a fair enough market leader there. She was a really good second. She split at Mullins Pair, Astro Diamond and Garla Marceau at Doncaster last time, so probably doesn't look too badly handicapped off America 138, but she did disappoint in Newbury the time before that, which maybe put small question marks about her. Declan, I'll start with you. Anything in here you like?
Yeah, there's three I like. The first one's Black Hawk Eagle, trained by Nagle in Ireland. Up £11 for 2 wins. The second one was quite easy, so it's not too harsh. 2 from 3 since moving to Kerry Lee. He had won a maiden in Ireland, beating Solitary Man, who's now rated 135. I really like Solitary Man. We haven't seen him since before Christmas, I don't think. He is a 6-year-old. I think he's a chance here. Bingo, he's up £20 since his opening mark. He was third and then he 3 wins. The last one was off 124 at 80 and it was still quite easy enough. So again, the handicapper hasn't been too harsh. Might be still a little bit of room there. But the one I'm really, really keen on, it's Kraken Rhapsody. He was a bumper winner and a novice hurdle winner. The second is followed up from the novice hurdle. He was third in his handicap debut off 115. He then reversed the form with the winner who's in here, Ginger Mail, up another £4, third handicap start. The most important thing, he's only a 5-year-old. There's loads of potential for improvement there. I think he'll give this a right go. I'd be keen enough on him now.
Nice progressive looking side there, around 12 to 1. Good shout from Declan. Andy, anything in here that caught your eye?
Yeah, I was a little bit opposite to Declan. I actually kind of was more interested in the ones up the top of the weights. Obviously, as you mentioned there, Benson comes here off a £5 higher mark. The way he was finishing out his races, I'm just wondering, like, he's a 9-year-old now, is 2.5 miles, maybe a little bit more suited to him. Now, with that said, we do have the Churchill lad in here who's going to blow this race wide open. He only knows one way of going, and that's from the front. So we should see a pretty frantic pace on here as well. Under Control, the mare, look, really good second to Astro Diamond. She split Astro Diamond and Garla Marceau. Again, only a 5-year-old, 138. You could argue if you like Astro Diamond for the mare's hurdle, you should probably be backing Under Control here if that's the way you like to read your form. She's 4 to 1 favourite. She's probably priced accordingly. I couldn't put anybody off her though. Absolutely not. Any harm in asking then as well, if he came back to his Welsh champion hurdle second form behind Numian Lion at the start of the season, he would have a chance. Despite being a point-to-point winner, he's actually been looking like he's been finding intermediate trips just that little bit too far. They come back now, and I would imagine he would have a fairly good chance. But as I alluded to in the previous race, there's a horse here that's in the form of his life. Geromino for Donald McCain and Charlie Maggs, who's claiming a 7. Charlie obviously gets on very, very well with this horse. He's won on him, I think, the last twice. He was claiming 10 at one stage. So if I'm after putting up, Rich Spirit for a grade 2, half an hour beforehand, I can't not take Geromino at around 25 to 1 here to run another big race. Does he have much in hand on the handicapper at this stage? Look, you could maybe argue not. Like, he's had plenty of opportunities. He's multiple starts in his life. But at a price like that for a horse that's in such great form, like, I was looking at this thinking I'd probably be a 10 to 12 to 1 shot, but I'm seeing 25s available, 20, 25 to 1, and I couldn't not back him at that price. Like, he's a big price for the form that he's in.
Going for those big prize winners in Kelso. So Under Control, would anyone have worries about the Nicky Henderson stable form? I know people are mentioning it. I'm not sure. Is it just the fact he's not really running a whole pile worth noting at the same time? What's your kind of views on that one?
Yeah, I think it's usually that coming up to Cheltenham, the big guns are put away and people can make too much of stable form. We obviously have the soap opera of Constitution Hill at the moment as well to add to that, but I suppose we might touch on that a little bit later on.
I might give it a small mention at the end, maybe a small look ahead to a few other things. But we'll go on to Sunday anyway in Leopardstown. That's all of Saturday's covered. First race I was just going to give a small mention to is the opening auction maiden hurdle. A lot of these very closely matched on form. Paul Townend sticks with Captain Cody, Danny's on Blizzard of Oz, and Donald Moyler takes the ride on Mags Mullins' Back to Normal. I thought this was quite interesting form. I actually am a bit of a fan of Answer to Keith. I'm not sure if he's going to head to Cheltenham in a few weeks' time. Are you laughing there? Are you fans as well?
I'm a massive fan.
Dak loves him, yeah. I love him too, actually. I like him too.
I'm wondering, like, where do you think he might? Is he going to go to Cheltenham? Do you think?
He's probably
got £3 in the Martin Pipe. Was it? And John Shinnick gets on first. Well, I'm like.
Yeah, he probably an unlucky runner up in the Martin Pipe. I think he give it a good go, but he's going to bump into one.
He's going to bump into one. Fair enough. But, okay, so we'll go back to this one anyway. So I thought that was a good race they ran in. Basically, there's very little to split them. I don't know. Are you going to stick with Captain Cody? Like, he came out marginally on top, I suppose. Back to normal. I actually thought Blizzard of Ours was coming there with a bit of a run. Kind of seemed to peter out a bit. And they're stepping back to 2 miles. Who do you think that might benefit the most? The other Mozzie as well, of course, one for Gavin Cromwell, but did disappoint a bit last time. He's a brother of my mate Mozzie, so surely has some bit of potential to improve on as well. But I suppose, Declan, any opinion on this one?
Yeah, look, Captain Cody did get away from Answer the Cave the last day. So it was a big performance from Answer the Cave. I think it's really, really good form. He gets away here again, though, and that's what's swinging it for me. He ran the champion bumper. People are making a lot of champion bumper form from last season, and look, yeah, he's just bumped into a really, really good horse the last day. I don't think we've seen him since Cheltenham. He came back, he won his maiden really, really easy, and that was. He's just been beat by a good horse the last day. I think the one that's going to give him the most trouble is the other Mozzie. He has to give weight away, and it's going to be very, very difficult. But I really like the form behind Western Fold. He also won on Stephen's Day, beating Blue Downford and Purse's Price. They both followed up. Blue Downford at Air and Purse's Price won really, really well at Thurles in one of these auction series hurdles. But yeah, it's probably a little bit boring. It'd be Captain Cody, particularly at the weights.
Interesting one. Andy, anything to add there?
Yeah, it's the weights that I'd be looking at really here as well. Like the other Mozzie, I think he'd struggle. Re-rate 122 with 11 stone 10. I think he's going to struggle to give the weight away to Blizzard of Oz, Back to Normal and Captain Cody. Now it did turn into a bit of a sprint the last day at Nace with the trio, Blizzard of Oz, Back to Normal, Captain Cody. Answer the Cave, that probably wouldn't have suited one anyway. And Blizzard of Oz was coming from a bit like a very cold position. Like he was ridden well off the pace. Looked like he was, as you said, going to come with a winning effort, but just petered out very, very quickly. Danny Mullins up. Will they maybe try and make all the running a bit of change of tactics? Maybe possibly something that could happen. But Captain Cody, based on what he did at Gowran, and again, not what race probably that wasn't ran to suit, he should confirm the form of Back to Normal. So I'd have it between the Mullins duo, and I would say Captain Cody probably does have the more solid profile. But it wouldn't be a race I'd probably be getting too involved in betting was.
Yeah, kind of trappy looking one. I think Captain Cody actually surprised really. I'd say Blizzard of Oz was probably the higher rated one as a bumper horse anyway, but Captain Cody seems to have improved a lot in fairness to him, and that bumper form, like you mentioned, I think there's only one horse not after winning. Is it that It's For Me, I think, is the Chosen Witness, I think, is the one who hasn't won yet.
And a Dream to Share.
A Dream to, oh yeah.
Yeah. I think there's two there, yeah.
Forget about him actually. But we'll go on to the 250 anyway, which I thought was actually a really interesting contest. 2 mile 2 Quinbet hurdle. This might be a good opportunity for Ashdale Bob, I thought, on first look. He's a 9-year-old. He's out without a win since April 2021. Probably not his optimal trip, but gets a bit of weight here for some horses at his peak. He should probably be beating. The Capo might be a danger. A progressive looking 5-year-old for Gordon Elliott was obviously good. A good second to stablemate. What's Up Darling in a grade 3 last time. Andy, what's your opinion on this one? Am I being a bit naive thinking Ashdale Bob can get his first win in about 3 years?
Well, you look at it on the face of it, like he still has a rating of 147. Now, whether he's a 147 horse these days is, leaves a bit to be desired. But when you look at it, he's getting weight off the likes of Sir Alan, a pensioner, Cashback, and Di Capo, who look 5-year-olds who was beaten last time out, but you know, he's the one you'd want to see win this race, because he probably he has the most progressive profile. But like when you do look at it, like Ashdale Bob, it does look a standout. But this race has been known to cause carnage in the past. I think St. Sam was beaten at a very short price last year, by Phil de Derry. So it can be done. Like it's not a race again that you probably should be getting too heavily involved in. But I would probably take a chance on the young legs. I'd go with De Capo, just because he's probably more reliable at this stage, in comparison to Ashdale Bob.
Declan, anything to add there?
I fully agree with Andy. First of all, I think it's gonna be really, really tough for Sir Alan, but we might see him back to his best next season. It's always a tough season for them. I'd have actually gone chasing with him. I thought he jumped hurdles like he was crying out for a fence last season. Ashdale Bob, like I think he's the highest rated in here. He's 147. It's a good opportunity for him. He's very, very consistent, but he's just not getting home in his races. That's maybe why they're coming back in trip, and he is getting weight, but it's so hard to ignore the Capo here. Like, he's a bumper winner with 2 hurdle wins. The next second, as you said, Emma, to What's Up Darling in grade 3, 5-year-old, so unexposed. It's kind of the horse you want to see winning this race and improving and being around for the next few years.
Just looking back through previous winners of it, it's the old boys seem to get a good go. Like looking back, Felix Younger, Hidden Cyclone, Jet Ski, Whiskey Sour, some real good old boys. I probably wouldn't put Ashdale Bob in the same category as them, but the vote goes for the younger legs in the 250 at Leopardstown. We'll go on to the 325 now, which is the Anton O'Toole handicap hurdle. 80 to 109. I think, Declan, you had pretty strong opinions on this one. I'll leave you take this one away.
Yeah, I think this race you want to leave the notebook out for. I think you'll find lots of winners come from this race. Milk Market in here off 100 form. You know, it's high enough. 5-year-old, first time in a handicap. He was last seen, I think it was back in October or November behind Beckett Rock. He'd be of interest to me the next time. Diamond Dollar pulled up on his handicap debut. It was a decent enough race though. It was the one, I think it was the one at Gowran that Champagne Maller won. Couple of mistakes and probably just eased down. Probably gonna need this again. Interest the next day. The Lucky Lobster, he'd definitely be of more interest. Sorry?
What a name.
It's a good name. He'd definitely be of more interest to me now if this was a 95. He's rated 92. I just think up in grade it's gonna be difficult to him to win. I can see him placing. He's never been better than midfield in his life, and he's only a 5-year-old. Like, he's one I'd be really, really keen to back the next day. The mare, Quilche. Quilche.
Yeah.
Quilche Lee.
Do not do Irish up in Dublin.
Not back in my day. Quilche Lee went off favourite on our handicap debut. She's a 6-year-old. She's going to improve, but again, another one more interest down a grade. The one I'm keen on is Magic Ollinger, rated 99, beaten 7 lengths in handicap debut. We'll have definitely improved for that experience. Ran in good maidens, closely matched with Aussie's Lodge, who was in here, didn't get declared. Horse Tony Martin's probably one that's going to win the next day. That was in the maiden behind Ballybourne. Sorry, was that the maiden behind Ballybourne, or it was the Firefox, was it?
He was in a maiden behind Down Memory Lane, and it's for me and Firefox. He's met a few ones.
Yeah, Firefox, Ballybourne. Attaboy Charlie was in that race. And Andy reckons that was the best maiden run in the country all year. So yeah, I'd be keen enough on Magic Ollinger here, Miss.
No relation to Bob, I don't think, but good shout there for Magic Ollinger. Andy, anything on this one?
Yeah, Magic Ollinger was probably the standout. Jared Keane. I did actually saw Quilche Arish would go close as well, but no, again, I said this is Deck's world. I'm just living in it.
We'll leave it up to Declan. So I did think Milk Market maybe a little bit harsh. She cheated off 104, but that one at Limerick, I'd say, was probably the reason for that. Ran a good race there behind a decent rival in Penny 100, but the shout goes for Magic Ollinger there from the two lads. We'll go on to the 4 o'clock then, which is the Quimbet Handicap Chase, listed handicap chase. Grandero Bello heads the weights there, for the Eddie and Patrick Harty team. Hasn't been seen since fourth in that good novice handicap chase at Punchestown. Andy, I think you had a strong view on this one, so I'll leave you dig into it.
Yeah, I've been waiting on this one for a number of months now. I've earmarked Snake Oil for this race, and I think nearly around Christmas time. Look, he's a horse that needs this trip. They've been running him over 2 miles. He's been running really well. He just hasn't had the boot to get home. Look, he probably would have been fourth at Christmas time when Pat Theroux fell at the last. Folks Tiara, I think, won that race. And it was a similar story at Nace. He came there travelling well, had every chance, just got squeezed out a little bit after the last. The gap was just going quicker than he was, unfortunately. And he finished the race really, really well. But he just ran like a horse that needed this trip. I know Barry Connell obviously loves Leopardstown. This was the perfect race for him. Lo and behold, he's declared. He's up in trip. I'd be really confident. He'd be my bet of the weekend. I think he'll take all the beating here now. The trip is really the main thing. He's a sound jumper now. He's got his handicap experience over 2 miles. He steps up in trip. 10 stone 11, lovely racing weight. Michael Sullivan take the ride. It's great to see though Grandero Bello back. A horse I had a lot of time for last season as a novice. He won his beginners. I think he was second to Braun, then won his beginners pretty well at Gowran. Ran well at Limerick, and then look, he ran fine. The ground was probably a little bit lively for him at the Punchestown Festival, but he was a fine fourth. He will win races this spring. I just think he's going to need this. I was a little bit worried when I did see the entry, but I do think he is going to need this run, and possibly it'd be Ferryhouse or Punchestown for him. He's a very nice horse, and he's definitely one to put in the notebook. Also Final Orders, who wasn't declared. He was another one that I was keeping an eye on. I think they're working back from the Topham Chase with him. So if anybody wants to put him in the notebook for the Topham Chase, he was traveling beautifully when he fell last year, I think at Valentine. So I'm happy that he's not declared. I don't mind that Grandero Bello is declared, but he'll be a horse for the next day. But the here and now horse, I think, is Snake Oil. I think he's going to take a fair bit of whacking now on Sunday.
Very confident shout there from Snake Oil. Hard to oppose that. And Grandero Bello won for the tracker. Declan, anything? Are you going to take Andy on here, or are you with him with Snake Oil?
Andy's telling me about this months now, so I'm not brave enough to take him on. But I agree, it's great to see Grandero Bello back. I would like to see him. I don't know whether it'll come too soon, but go to the Irish National next. I know he's running here off a layoff, but I do think he'd find it tough to beat in Tons Raffy or in 10 raffles in 10 raffles in the Irish National.
Is that a tip for the Irish National?
I'd be very, very keen on
the 1st of March. We've got a very keen Irish National tip. He was good the last day.
This is what we do.
Well, yeah, he needed to be good the last day because I think the handicapper got it wrong with him, and he knew he got it wrong. He's what, he give him £15 or something. Now we did win by 40 lengths, but even like people are mad about Iroko for the Turners. He's beaten him in France. I know it was probably I don't know, it could have been a 2-year-old chase or something over there. You wouldn't know with him. But I think he's a horse with an awful lot of ability. He's really well handicapped, and even after the £50, I'd say he's still well in.
Right, I'll clip that up and keep it in the bookmarks at some stage. We'll finish off at Leopardstown. I just wanted to give a small mention to the bumper. Just a rare runner for Jim Bulger here, and it would be great to see Finn Ticketmaster getting off the mark. He was really unlucky to be disqualified when he got that win on Colcannon for an All Mead and Punchestown. I think weighed in. I think you're allowed weigh in like a pound overweight, but he was like 1.3 or underweight. Yeah. Sorry, he was 1.3 pounds under, which was a tough blow for him. But Jim Bulger having a bumper runner, kind of have to take note of that, I suppose. But we'll just finish up then. We're gonna your naps of the weekend. We'll go for first, and then we'll have a short look ahead to Cheltenham. Andy, you first. Maybe who will be your nap of the weekend? I presume it's going to be Snake Oil.
Yeah, no question. I've already it's Snake Oil, 100%.
Lovely. Declan?
It'd probably be Magic Ollinger.
Magic Ollinger and Snake Oil. So 2 nice ones there from Leopardstown. To wrap up, we'll just give this a couple of minutes because we're running on a small bit. But big news this week, I suppose, Constitution Hill. Worrying updates yesterday, I suppose. What's your kind of reactions to the whole scenario that's unfolded over the last day or two? And I want to ask as well, would you back him if he got there on the day, and what price would he have to be?
What? Oh, as Deck said earlier, it's a soap opera. That's what it really is. I'd rather study the form for this weekend, and even for Cheltenham. I'd study form before I read news like this. Look, if the horse makes it, the horse makes it. That's great. I hope he does. We want to see the best take on the best. But look, I think Deck will probably follow on from this. There could have been issues there all season. He's only ran once. They were talking about not running him in the international hurdle, or the Bula, or whatever they've called it now, before he actually did scope 30. I don't think I could back him. I look, it's not because I don't think he's any chance. I just don't like backing at odds on, which he presumably would be. I would just sit back and watch the champion hurdle happily. Especially with the season state man has had, he does look improved.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It is a bit of a soap opera. Declan, anything to add to that, or same kind of mindset?
Well, look, before all this news broke, the champion hurdle was the race I was most looking forward to watching at the Cheltenham Festival, because I've never seen a horse finish second without getting hit in the champion hurdle the way State Man did. And I just think, you know, Willie will often play the long game. I think he's been cooking a plan a long time. And State Man, he's the ultimate professional. You only have to listen to the way Paul Townend talks about him. He's like a lamb in the ring. You know, he's just so good at his job. It's unfortunate for him that he's around at the same time as Constitution Hill. He does have a lot to find, but, you know, even with a fully fit Constitution Hill, I think he's going to give him a proper race this year. It's an awful shame we don't see Constitution Hill. Hurricane Floyd turned up to every grade one once he wasn't injured, and it didn't matter what the ground was like. He just ran. He was good enough to win most of them. But, you know, that's what people want to see. We want to see the best race horses, and he's just not the people's horse. In Britain, John Bond is the people's horse. He's in the same stable, but he's owned by a racing man, and we get to see him a lot more often. It's just so hard to connect with Constitution Hill. And now we have all this, you know, drama. We're getting pictures of typed out A4 pages. Like, it's mad the stuff. It's mad the stuff we're seeing at the moment. Like, I don't know what to make of it. The Cheltenham Festival is big enough without all this at the moment. Like, you know, we're talking about Cheltenham Festival too big for racing. So I just want to. I'd love to see him turn up and just watch a proper race. But I suppose we have to put up with this drama at the moment. If he turns up, he's worth backing. If he's even money, you'd have to, because he shouldn't be turning up if he's not right.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Look, everyone wants to see him get there, I suppose. Yeah, the hourly updates are pretty dramatic, all right. But just to finish off, I'm going to ask you both. Maybe, look, I saw you went through all the handicap rates for all the Irish horses. Maybe if you could both give me one Irish dark horse on the up to the Cheltenham Festival.
He's not a dark horse anymore. He's going to bump. Answer the Cave is going to bump into one in the market. Yeah. It's Waterford Whispers. For Henry de Bromhead. He's got a £6. Couldn't have been more impressive, in my opinion, at Fairyhouse, and I think he was just unravelled by an excellent front running ride by Mikey O'Sullivan last time out, and I think it was Champagne Admiral at Leopardstown. Yeah, he's got a £6, but that's going to get him into the race. I think he's a 140 sort, and I think he'll take all the world of beating in the Martin Pipe. For an actual dark horse, though, in the county hurdle, Gordon Elliott, I think he's going to run Phil's the Dairy here. He's around a 25-33 to 1 shot. I wouldn't be backing him anti-post. I think you'll get that on the day, and maybe even bigger. He does have a grand annual entry, but the handicapper has handicapped him on his hurdles form, and he's 100 to 1 shot for the champion hurdle. But why I like him is he's been running grade ones all season. We've seen Pied Piper do that and go close last year. Going a bit further back, Willie Mullins has done it with Sharjah. He's done it with Aramon. Now they haven't won the county, but they've all gone very, very close. And Phil's the Dairy gets in, I think, off 150. They've just been letting him run around in grade ones, and they're going to bring him back into a handicap. Just not as competitive, and he's one that you need to keep a very close eye on. I'd be really interested in him now if they declare him for the county.
Nice one, Andy. And Declan, anything for you?
Yeah, he's in the Martin Pipe as well, but I'm hoping he doesn't go there, because he will bump into Waterford Whispers. I'm hoping he goes to the Curl Cup. It's Western Fold. You got to mention earlier, he was very, very good the last day. He was actually behind Waterford Whispers in a rated novice hurdle earlier on in the season, but look, he's only a 5-year-old. He's a massive price at the moment. You can back him on run or no bet. I think if he turns up in the Coral Cup, he'll take it out of stopper.
Lovely stuff, lads. We'll wrap it up there. We've kind of I've been dragging it on for long enough. But thanks so much for your contribution, some really in-depth analysis of all of the Irish racing, and just thanks so much for coming on. And anyone who hasn't tuned into the Lads podcast, it's well worth a watch. Best of luck for this weekend, and thanks everyone for watching the show. If you're going to have a bet, make sure to gamble responsibly, and we'll be back on Monday with our normal Jump To It show with Johnny Ward and Vincent Finnegan.